right, good afternoon. Last session of the day. Woohoo! Woo-woo! My name is Carla Tabing, and I actually work with the American Job Center, Southern Illinois, which is down in Marion. It's LWO 25. My history is, though, I have right at 32 years of adult ed experience. And when I retired from adult ed, I was fortunate enough to switch over to this position as a one-stop operator. So that puts a lot of history between the three of us. We were actually just talking at lunch, and we were figuring we probably had about 75 years combined adult ed experience between the three of us, which makes me feel really old. But yeah, so there's a whole lot of adult ed experience, and we're going to talk about how we all work together, adult ed, the American Job Center, Title I. Stephanie's here from Mantricon, who I work very closely with Title I. So other introductions.
Want me to go? Okay, I'm Sandy Snowden, and I am also in LWO 25. I am an adult education provider. I am the director, that's a lot of mouthful, of Rebound, which is an alternative high school that is funded through the Illinois Community College Board. So I do 90% of my students are high school diploma students, and then 10% are GED. We also run Bridge and ICAPS through our program. Hi to the people online. We haven't said that, but you guys are there. So I just want to welcome you guys also.
Hi, I'm Ginger Harner. I'm the Director of Adult Education and Alternative Instruction at Shawnee Community College, where I've been for 25 years. And so you could see how we could hit that 75 quick, right? And have also been active on my workforce board with a position on our Area 26 LWIA workforce board for the past decade or so. We really just wanted to bring our perspective and conversations with you about our experiences and what we do and what you're doing and how we can all think about how we can work better together.
Okay. So, yes, what we're going to talk about is how the American Job Center works with Title I, Title II, and bring it all together. One of the things that I would like to continue working as the American Job Center person is to build those collaborations and to have different partners working more closely together instead of the silos. Mantricon has always been very good to our adult ed programs, very supportive of our adult ed programs, and that is something that, we foresee continuing for adult ed also. It's important to have the means meet, the goals meet for each Title I, Title II, Title III, IV, whatever it might be, for us all to meet our measures. And that's one of the goals that we have with adult ed, Title I, is to help meet those numbers.
Can I get an idea of who's in the room? So who in here is adult ed? Okay, how about Title I? Okay, and Title III? Okay, and Title IV? No Title IVs. Okay, thank you.
All right, so one of the things that we have is we have a very formal referral process. It was been a long time in development. I sat on the AJC committee as an adult ed person for many years, and I'm not sure, Sandy, how it took us a while to develop the intake, and it's constantly being tweaked and updated, but
I would say about 3.5 years.
yeah.
And
it was a slow process.
about every 2 or 3 meetings, we bring it back up at our AJC meeting to ask if there needs to be changes. I think our last change was probably with the veteran stuff. And so we are constantly looking at it and making those adjustments as we need to adjust.
You want to talk about communication? One of you guys want to talk about communication?
Well, I think communication is really what all of our partnership boils down to, right? So the relationships are really the key to working well together, and sometimes that means being able to be honest about what the issues are between your two sides of the house. So, if a new policy or procedure works for one partner but not the other, we really have to be open enough to be able to say, okay, this works for you really well. How could we make it work for our side of the house a little bit better? And I'm going to give you an example. So we had a goal of increasing our co-enrollments this year. I have a very good relationship with my service provider, and so she really, with great intention, was like, we're going to increase co-enrollment. So how that played out this year was that couple of my adult education students were placed into work experience as part of a work experience program at my service provider. How that actually came to fruition resulted in those two students going into unsubsidized employment and quitting their GED class. Okay, so great idea, co-enrollment didn't work the way that we intended it to. So that means we start that conversation again about, okay, before we maybe schedule someone who we know is co-enrolled, let's talk about scheduling issues, class issues, and goals for that student. So I don't see it as a failure. I think it means we've got work to do, but I think we can't be afraid of saying, this did not work. How can we then come back together and make it better?
And with the American Job Center Southern Illinois, we have monthly meetings, and we have really good participation with the partners being at those committee meetings. So if you guys are looking for ways to communicate and start to build those relationships, and you're not on the AJC committee in your area, I would suggest that might be one of the things that you do, because it really allows for a conversation to happen. We also, at the American Job Center Southern Illinois, have interagency meetings quarterly. Because of COVID, we had started doing them virtual, but we're going back to hybrid for the next one. And it was a lot of discussion of that is important to be able to have those face-to-face conversations. So we're also moving towards that. Myself, as the American Job Center, I keep kicking my bag, one-stop operator, I try to facilitate communications. Anytime that there's flyers from any of our partners or not partners that we want to get the information out to all of our partners, we have about 100 people, and for our area that's a lot because we're not a huge population area, 100 people that we send flyers out and communication to multiple times a week. Whether it's about, classes that's going to happen at Rebound, or there's a women's health conference coming up, whatever it might be. So it's not just information going out about the four partners necessarily, but it's community correspondence that happens. And it has definitely opened up talks and ways to help our customers, students, however you want to say it, better. And that's what our goal is. Me coming from adult ed, was always student first. How can we help the student? And, I have to brag on MantraCon. They're very much, how can we help? I have to get used to saying customers. How can we help the customers be successful? And they're always very supportive in working with that. Oh, I can't see. Okay. Okay, so this is our referral sheet. So if a customer comes in, they fill out the information. This isn't the only intake information we do, but it's the main referral that I send out to anyone who they need to receive services from. We used to have, being on the adult ed side of it, some not so good participation from a couple of our partners. Not because of me, that's not why, but I think it's getting better with those partners, and that's exciting. So we have, DOORS, we have DHS, we have Title I, we have us, we have MERS, who works with senior citizens who's seeking part-time employment. We have Land of Lincoln, who works with customers who are needing to expunge or seal records. We work with community action groups, whether they need utility assistance or rent assistance, we send those referrals. So there's a lot of referrals that happen. On a monthly basis, we probably send out about 50 to 60 actual referrals, but within that referral list, there's probably 150 services that they need. So
This is also available online. So yes, we have paper copies. There's paper copies at my office. There's paper copies at others, but there is also an online version. So it helps with those people that are having transportation issues. We can get that initial information, and then Carla can follow up with those services for those students.
And we do receive referrals from all throughout the state sometimes where they see it and they fill out the online referral. I do send those on. I look it up and find out what area they're in and who a contact person is. So we do try to help, facilitate those referrals even outside of our 25 district. Does anybody have any questions about the referrals? And I should have said the slides are on on the app.
How do you guys do referrals? So what are some other intakes for referrals? Hold on.
So in Vermilion County, we actually have everything is done on computer. When you're doing a referral and the individual is sitting right in front of you, you're sending the referral out to multiple agencies that they are needing the services from, but also we set a 48-hour requirement on our partner agencies to update us as to whether they're offering services, they're not eligible for services, or whatever it may be, but we have a rapid follow-up response as well.
Yeah. I always try to have the referrals sent out within 24 hours to our partners, but that's something that is a work in progress, and I'm glad to hear that from you. Some partners let us know that they've tried to make contact, they've made contact. Other partners do not. So that's something that continues to be a work in progress for us.
One second. Thank you.
Sarah, get your steps in.
Yes, I love you. Please. So I'm the CTE contact at the community college for the LWIA I'm part of. And there's sort of a twofold process that they use. It's DuPage County, so it's working at DuPage. All the partner agencies, the mandated partner agencies, are listed on the last page of the online application. So that's one place where when someone's applying, and then it automatically gets put in a SharePoint spreadsheet that all the partners have access to. Everyone's got their own page, and that's where we're responsible for, listing if we've made contact, how many times we've attempted to contact, and kind of what the general, whatever we talked about or whatever the information shared was. So that's like one place everyone can go in and look and see. And then the secondary part of that is within that SharePoint, there's like an internal referral form. So like IDES can refer someone to me. Very bare bones, just, name, number, general, what they want, and then, we're all responsible for, ideally 48 hours, contacting that referral source.
Our online referrals that we receive probably averages maybe 3 or 4 a month. We don't get a lot of online intakes. Yeah, we do not. Most of ours is from individuals who come into the American Job Center and fill it out. And it is nice because then we can sit down, we can really talk to them, figure out what services, they need and some that they might not be aware of, so.
So I'm with Cook County, so I work with Harper College. I'm also CTA liaison between Harper and the American Job Center. And so in Cook County, they have 10 American Job Centers spread across Chicago and Cook County. And Scale It is our one-stop operator. They developed a system using Airtable.com. And with that, it's basically online forms. It's an online form system. And so we refer partners, or we send referrals between partners, all the required partners and service providers. And so with that, it's automated. So so the person, it could be one of, like, I don't know how many colleges there are in Cook County, or all those partners, it gets sorted out and directed to the right person, and then we are supposed to respond within 2 days. And when we respond, we check the box, like if we made attempt to contact, if the referral was closed, because after some time, if the person does not respond, we just close it, or if they got enrolled, we also check that they were enrolled, and we could add like case notes in there, and we could tag people too, so they'll get like an automated email. And then quarterly Scale It compiles statistics on, how many referrals went between which partners and how they were processed, like how many were closed versus enrolled.
Yeah.
And so it's a nice little system that I give credit to Scale It for developing it. It probably did take like 2 years to get it, because a lot of that was like getting all the partners on board and making sure everybody was comfortable with the minimum amount of information that would go out there, and then finding the right system, because there's just so many options and different prices, but Airtable seemed to be like the most cost efficient and really good quality for what we needed.
That's, first off, we're real fans of Scale It. So even though we're in deep south, southern Illinois, a lot of us partnered on some digital learning labs for many years with Scale It. We're still partners and members. So we're fans of Scale It as well. And we love that their reach is not just in Chicago. So, and I'm all the way at the southern tip. So we love what they do at this state. But I'm interested to know, does everyone always do a form-based or paper-based referral, or does anybody ever sit down with customers or students together in the same place? Does anybody do that? Yes? Yeah.
Title I and Title II.
Yeah.
Hold on one
Yeah.
second.
I was just referring. I was asking if it was Title I and Title II. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
does Title I come to
Like if you
our
ever sat
AE?
down with a service provider, like if you're handing off a student that you want to refer, have you ever just met up?
That would be very ideal.
Yeah?
But.
And of course, in the
Yeah.
big scheme of things, that's where they want
Yeah.
us to go.
We used
but-
to, but we are
Yeah.
30 minutes now away
Yeah.
from our
Yeah.
nearest
Well,
one
so we
stop.
are 2.5 hours away
Yeah.
from our American Job Center.
Yeah.
But we do have service providers who are semi-local. We are. I know it's. So we think it's funny when we hear you guys talk about they have to go all the way down the street or whatever, because we literally aren't even in the same vicinity. I promise you, no one has ever walked into our one-stop center in Carmi, Illinois, asking for Shawnee Community College services, because it's 2.5 hours away. Like, you're not popping in there. However, we made it a point to know what we do. So we've done eligibility training together. Like Title II has jumped in on Title I eligibility training, because I was like, you're really far. We are doing different things. We want to know who are the right people to send to you, who is eligible, who's not. So we did eligibility training together. It was a little interesting at first, but after it was like, what a great idea. And so we have been known occasionally to just sit down with a student, especially a student with interesting needs or an interesting, scenario, and talk to each other about that student. So I know it's not always practical. Yeah.
Also online, Doug Potts added that in Elwea 2, McHenry, they have an internal website and a referral sheet set up for referrals, and they also follow 48 hours. And also added that warm handoff if the provider is
Yeah.
available, they
Yeah.
are.
We
doing
try to
that.
always give them a name, right? If you're going to this office, we're going to refer you, we're going to send you here, and this is who you're going to speak with. And that's gone a long way in our area, I think.
And in 25, the adult ed programs are pretty fortunate because Title I does go to adult ed programs.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There is 3 adult ed programs in Elwea 25. So there's 3 of us. I do co-chair on the AJC committee, and so I feel like it is my responsibility to make sure all my other adult ed providers knows what's going on. They are typically always at our meetings also, but as a chair of that committee and part of adult ed, it is my responsibility to make sure all of our adult eds are on the same place.
The other thing I think probably most of you do too is cross-training. I've been in this position less than a year. My year will start June 1st, and that was one of the goals to get started quickly because it hadn't been occurring previously. And we did it in the fall, and we had the people who was presenting in person, but then anyone could Zoom in and watch it. So I can't remember how many people we had Zooming, but there was multiple people from multiple agencies. I completely missed on how long it was going to take. I figured a couple hours or so, and I think we were there 5 hours. So, but it was great because there was so much communication and discussion of, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, well, that's great information. Well, we can do this. And so I really think it started to open up more communication, especially with programs that seemed pretty isolated before then.
Yeah, and for us, we have Carla come in for frontline, everyone staff. We run a staff meeting, and she comes in and presents on what she does as the one-stop operator. That gives everyone in my building, teachers, counselors, anyone that could touch a student, the knowledge to know where they can send to.
We have a question from someone in the chat, and it's related. So is it okay? Should I wait? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
She says, what should our students do if the American Job Center is 90 minutes away? It's a barrier, 90 minutes or more.
Well, I think then absolutely make use of your local programs, right? So one of the things that I think is really important is knowing what happens at your Title I provider if you're not Title I, right? And I got a lot of that experience by sitting on that board or being involved in those meetings, being knowledgeable about what my students need to know about Title I, because we can really assist them in accessing that service if it is far away. So we can take down information, we can gather what they may need. You know, some of what we do in terms of Title I assistance for our Title II students is helping them gather documentation like birth certificates or income eligibility documents. So I think make use of who you have locally so that, or even if it's just sitting down at a computer while they're actually filling out a form maybe for a place that's further away, be knowledgeable about it. I have never found it to be a valid excuse if you're in our business to not know what other people do. Because if it impacts our students, then we should know about it. And we should want to know about it. We should be interested, we should ask questions, and we should be involved. I mean, there have been times in the past when not every conference had an adult education focus like it does today, but some of us came anyway because we knew that there was information for our customers, for our students, for our clients to find out what was going on. And I have to give a shout out to my executive director at WIOA 26 because one of the reasons we had this much, we found some extra interest from our service provider this year is because she taught an adult education course. So our Title I executive director, Pam Barbie, I don't know if she's online, but I think she might be, taught a class at Frontier Community College in adult education. And she said, I finally get what you guys are doing out there. And so it opened her eyes to how they could better serve our students. And so being involved and being knowledgeable about our partners goes a really long way. And there is time to do that. It might seem like it's a lot. We have a lot on our plates, but it'll be well worth your time and it'll serve your students very well.
I think another source, we all have Zoom. There's the miles now aren't anything compared to what they were prior to. So the question, I would also throw out the suggestion of set up a Zoom meeting for Title I with the student, and if they need to do it during class time because they don't have a laptop, then that's what needs to happen. But yeah, Zoom is also a huge benefit for students and customers. So these are just some of the things that we refer for. High school resume interview, we have started doing the second Monday of each month. I do a workshop. We've done Let's Talk interviews, and on Monday, we're going to do filling out resumes and applications. And those workshops are open to anyone, whether they're a Title I, adult ed, doesn't matter, somebody walking in off the street. Within those workshops, we always give information about the AJC, about Title I, about, with Title II, whatever it might be. So if we have someone who comes into one of those workshops, we have them fill out an intake form, so that way we can help those. So we use it as informational and as a recruiting tool for the AJC. One of my goals is to increase the number of people who come into our AJC. I don't know about you guys, but we always laugh and say, the AJC is a hidden gem. Nobody knows about it. People ask me, where you work at now? American Job Center, and then I get this blank look. So that's kind of my goal, to get the word out there more about the American Job Center, because the more people we assist, the more validation we have in what we do, no matter which title we're in. So that's a goal that I have for the American Job Center. So
We do have a question about referrals,
Yeah.
since we're on that. The question is there a universal referral?
I don't believe so. You mean for just our area or the state?
Probably the state, because I don't think
No.
she's in your area.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Becky, let me know if I asked that appropriately.
Yeah. So yeah, when we've talked about this some, so I'm not going to dwell on it. We do online, in person. All referrals comes to myself, the one-stop operator, and then I refer out to the partnering agencies. And like everybody talked about, it's within that 24, 48-hour time frame that we want to get that information out to the agencies.
And with Carla's just adult ed knowledge, she then breaks up kind of where those, because there's 3 providers again, where those referrals are going to go to. So if she knows it's someone looking specifically for high school diploma that's in the Carbondale area, she's going to send that my way. But if she knows that it's a GED or someone in Williamson County, then she's going to push those towards the John A. Logan program. And so by her looking at each one of those referrals, she then splits them out where they need to go. Now, sometimes there's overlapping, and then that's the responsibility of both of us or all of our adult eds to decide where that person needs to help with.
I mean, the goal is, of course, to be the most accurate and punctual referral that we can do, and to get it to the appropriate agency as quickly as we can.
And don't be afraid to cross lines. I don't mean stepping into someone else's line for service, but don't be afraid to call a neighboring service provider. So I was just on the phone today with my neighboring adult ed provider, Audrey, who had a student that started with her but then moved into my district. And sometimes they want to stay, great. keep a student where they're happy and where they want to be. But if they need a closer class, then give your neighbor a call and send them over. We've had students who maybe live in my area but work in Carbondale. If that class works better for them, then I'm going to call and say, hey, you should connect with Sandy, because if that would make it easier for you to both work and go to school, then I think she's got a solution for you. So get to know your neighbors and be willing to share whatever works for your student. If a student knows that you're going to do what's in their best interest, you'll never be short on students, okay, because that word gets out.
I also want to state between Title I and Title II, and Sandy can speak to this because she's in adult ed. I know when I was in adult ed, we would try to make sure students were going to stay in class before we made that referral to Title I. Because we want the students, of course, who's going to stay in class and not come for 2 classes and bog the system down basically by sending all these referrals. So adult ed has always done a really good job of seeing if the students are going to stay in class, and that increases numbers for both Title I and Title II.
Yeah, well said, exactly.
Positive numbers, I should say.
Exactly.
So yes, here's a list of our partners that's also on the referral form. This is not everyone that we talk to. I'm sure everybody has it, where you have a list of homeless shelters and food banks and, you know, all of the above. So if you have a customer who comes in and they're saying, you know, I'm homeless, I don't have a place to stay, we have the information where we can give them, before they walk out that door, on agencies and community action agencies that can assist them. So again, it's those wraparound services that makes it successful for the students, customers, however you want to say it. Because if your basic needs aren't met, as we all know, it's real hard to concentrate in GED classes. So, you know, we really try to work not only with these partners, but lots of community organizations throughout the area. Do you want to talk about the youth services that they provide for adult ed?
Sure. So we have our Title I-B provider comes in every single Wednesday to our building with us, background about us a little bit. We run in terms, so 8-week to 9-week classes, do registrations about every 4 to 6 weeks about, and they show up for those registrations. They are there doing intakes at the same time we're registering new students. Then they do, every Wednesday, we run what we call our team time, which is a time for our students to come to support staff or meet with a group of students and a staff member to build relationships, to do work skills, to do a variety of different things. We have guest speakers during that time period, but it's a set time every single week. But our Title I-B also comes in every single Wednesday, so our students know every Wednesday at 10 o'clock that Justin's going to be there, and he's going to be there to collect their Social Security cards. He's going to be there to collect their IDs. He's there to do their one-on-one intake. He's there to do the interviews. He's there to set. After a student has got enrolled into I-B, he is there then, that support person. Maybe someone's having just some issue, or maybe they want to share the good news that they just passed their government test. And so he is that person that they check in with every single Wednesday. And some days it's like, hey, I see you, Pedro, you're good. You're good, I don't need to talk to you. But other days there's stuff that they need to communicate and do. And so that allows him every single Wednesday to know that he's in the building and he's there to support them. And so that is one of the things that we started about 2 years ago, and it really works well for us.
Yeah. And I think that's kudos again to Mantricon being open and flexible. And, you know, the other thing Mantricon has done is we're over 5 counties. So we stretch, you know, miles in between our towns. I can't call them cities. But Mantricon's worked very hard to make sure that there is an office in each
county where they're not having to travel an hour to get to Title I services. So that's been a great benefit for the customers too.
Yeah, I think those unofficial extension locations are really priceless in an area that has a large geographic footprint. And so knowing those local staff and being able to take students over to those local offices is really invaluable. And then, of course, you know, as our students transition out of adult education or into even an ICAPS, you know, we want our partners to help assist them with tuition, with transportation, with childcare. And then also, there had been some non-formula funds that I think one of our speakers, I think Julio might have discussed a little earlier, where the state is really making a commitment outside of regular formula funds. And so in our region, for example, those dollars were used to access Model 2 ICAPs that were not in high-wage, high-growth industries, but were in areas of interest for our students. So an entrepreneurship certificate, for example, our partner was willing to foot the bill for those to help encourage students to then start businesses in our area. So there are a lot of ways that we can partner, and with youth specifically, mostly because Sandy and I have younger populations. We have a lot of high school credit students, but even many of our adult students still are under 24 years old and still fall under that youth umbrella. So there are a lot of opportunities for those kind of partnerships.
All right. Title II, ABE classes, GED classes, Bridge, ICAPS, English as a second language. That's pretty standard for adult ed. There's, you know, programs that adult ed can do otherwise as far as work skills and that sort of thing, but that is pretty much what adult ed provides. Adult ed, how many students do you serve, Sandy?
Right around 200 out of a year.
Yeah. And so for us, that's a pretty large population. I know when I was at John A., we served around 200 also. So, and a lot of these are under the 24 and can go into the youth services with Title I.
My average age this year is 17.4. I have a young crew this year.
Youch.
Adult ed courses, classes and programs in general are really seeing the results of the pandemic, students who dropped out. And so we have some really young groups of students this year. You know, we've always got adults who are coming back after many years, but our classrooms are full up with 16, 17, 18-year-old students right now.
So as far as the American Job Center, we do the referrals. Anyone can come in. They do not have to be associated with any of the titles to come in and use the computers, do applications online, resumes, whatever it might be. We print out resumes for them. We have the direct line if they're filing for unemployment. They can get on and speak with IDES directly. We have workshops. We do presentations. So being in this role, that's something that I continue to want to expand and figure out, again, how to get the word out about the American Job Center.
And Johnny Logan came over and did a tour
Yes.
of your
Yes.
the one stop at the beginning of the school year. And
Yep.
so that's one of the things that Carla's always trying to get us, hey, bring a busload over. Come let
on
us see. Come see what we're about.
Yeah.
I'm about 30 minutes, not quite, from, and so we have not taken a bus over, but that's just part of the process. But the local one has.
And we are literally, the American Job Center literally just has a door between us and Title I. So if we have somebody come in, they sit down, they fill out the intake, all the information, 99% of the time, there's going to be somebody from Title I come out and speak with them. So that way, to even get the ball rolling even more, to speed up services. So, and we always try to find out if they receive SNAP or if, you know, they're receiving unemployment, all those things to assist Title I into getting them served more quickly. How do we work together? I don't like him at all. Can you tell? Don't like him at all.
She is our, or all three of us are, when it's a bad week, it's can we meet because we need to get together. It is time we need to vent. So can we meet at IHOP at 8 o'clock on Friday is a very common text that comes across our phones.
So communicate between the agencies. That is a work in progress for us. Like I said, it's getting better between the partners, but we still have a long way to go. Like Patty said, to sit down and have that wraparound services right there for the customer, we're not even close to that. We're making strides towards that, and that is, definitely where we want to end up at. Because we want our students, customers to be successful, but I'll just be honest, and if anybody has that, I would love to know how you facilitate that. And I'm sure there's a whole lot of people in here who would love to know how you facilitate that, because it is difficult. And again, part of it is because we're so spread out. For some of our agencies to come, they might have to, drive 30 minutes to an hour, even to central location. So, but again, Zoom and those things we need to work on.
So we have a lot of people from a lot of different facets of our group here today. I would love to know from you, if there's one thing that you would like someone from another title program to know, what would it be?
Oh, good. We are not taking names. We are just throw it out there.
What happens at conference stays at conference. Everybody knows that.
Come on, one thing.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll start that ball rolling. And it's not anything that I've experienced with either of the programs that I've worked with. But the thing that comes to mind, though, is or could be different goals or different outcomes. When you've got things that you've got to do and she's got things that she has to do different, and they don't always match.
That's great. That's really good. I think one thing I would like other title programs to know about adult education students is that they are always very nervous about starting adult education, and they will take any road out the door that they can find. So if you give them one, they'll take it, okay? So talk to them about how you can serve both purposes, because at the end of the day, getting their credential is going to serve them best as they move into their next job opportunity or training opportunity. Patty?
I think one of the biggest struggles for us is the English language population and their ability to work. And I think that is a very big issue that, they might come to us and say, I need a job, and they don't have the qualifications. So what are the areas that we can help them either get qualified or find out if they don't already know?
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. Anybody else?
One thing that I've struggled with, I just started at a new job, is inheriting all of the kind of WIOA mess that was from before and trying to rectify it and not being able to get the necessary training for the staff and even for myself, because it's been like 15 years since I've done WIOA. So just trying to get all of that. So if anybody has any resources or best practices, I will be.
Where do you come? What?
I'm in Chicago.
But are you Title I?
Yeah,
or-
I'm Title
okay.
I for youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AJC should be
Yeah.
getting partners together for cross-training.
Okay.
Yeah, I would contact your AJC.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
And actually,
what?
one of the online participants said that it would be great to record that cross-training that you're doing, or if you might do, and make that part of onboarding, for people.
Yep.
I thought that was a nice
Yep.
idea. Here you go.
I just wanted to know if you work with in-school or out-of-school youth. Okay, I can talk to you later.
Woohoo! We're going to consider this a success if we
That's
link two
right.
people together today. All right, questions?
Anybody? Oh, darn it. Anybody have any questions? I really have a hard time standing still.
Okay, so as far as data sharing, and I know that, like, you know, when we refer, like if we refer 24 students to our One Stop, and like they say, oh yes, and then when we have our partner meeting, which is every couple months, they went to that because of their staffing issues. So what they'll say, like Kishwaukee College, you know, they sent 24 students to us, and then it's like lost.
Yeah.
Information lost.
So it's one of the things that probably took us the longest to get approved on this form. And that is on the bottom side over here is the authorization to release information.
Yep.
But it took us a while.
Working with state agencies, yeah, it took a while. The other thing is, I just lost my train of thought. Yep. Continue. Because it just went, whoo.
I don't know.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. The other thing is when I started, all the referrals that come in for the monthly AJC meetings were hand counted. I did that 1 month. 1 month. And so it's all on an Excel spreadsheet, their names, their veteran status, who referred them, where the referrals going, all the referrals that are listed. And so I print that out every month and sends that to the AJC committee meeting. So every month everybody on the committee can see the number of referrals that have happened, the number of people, where they have been referred to and from. So, yeah, I did that 1 month.
So the partner.
That's what Excel's for. Do what?
You do that for all the partners?
Yes, yes.
So the question was, she does that for all the partners in the meeting, and that's correct.
Yes.
We each receive that in our email with our agenda.
Yep. Other questions?
Someone did put in the chat, there are a lot of resources, videos, etc., available on Illinois WorkNet, and that
Yes.
person put the link in the chat too,
Yep.
so you could go back to that.
Yeah. Yeah, Illinois WorkNet has lots of videos, career, no, what's the other website? Career, blah, blah, blah. Somebody bring it out for me, I'm drawing a blank again. What? It's kind of like Illinois WorkNet link, but it's the National Career,
Career Connect?
thank you, maybe, I can't remember, but yeah. Yeah, there are lots of good resources out there, so.
Workforce GPS, someone said in the crowd here, for those of you at home. CareerOneStop.org.
That's it.
Oh,
That was it. That's what I
Okay.
was trying to think
There we
of.
go.
Thank you, whoever did that.
And the chat, you can go back to it on Whova, you know, if you want any of the links that people put in it, you know. Thank you, people in the chat, virtual attendees.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, I was just asking if you could repeat those two resources that were given. It was Career Something and Workforce Something.
Illinois WorkNet, is that? Yes.
Career One
One
Stop,
Stop.
and what was the other one you said? Workforce GPS. Yep.
Questions?
Okay, we want to thank you guys for coming today. We appreciate you learning a little bit about us and how we partner.
And we hope it was beneficial.
And take chocolate.
And take
And take
chocolates, that's
chocolate.
right. And everybody have a good evening.